Hi and welcome to the best thing you watched. We have Chris from Movies and Munchies, myself, Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. We're excited to talk about literally the best things we watched this week. Hopefully it'll be less poo and more exciting good stuff. Thank you so much if you're joining us. If this is your first time, very welcome. If you are repeat offenders, welcome. And there's a nice little segue into one of the things we'll be talking about in the best thing we watched this week. Our Patreon is part 2 of posters that we've messed up and that we have to try and guess, because I need revenge from last week's, from what Chris put me through. So if you want to see what we get up into our Patreon, then check that out. Also, as per usual, on Sundays, and normally in the morning sometime, we drop our audio exclusive content that follows this bit. So you'll get all of this bit in the audio bit and the exclusive content if you listen to the podcast. For now, if you're here just for the video, you're welcome. If you're listening to the audio, welcome. Feel welcome and loved, beautiful people of the internet. Yes. Chris, do you want to say anything before I carry on speaking and hogging up all the airtime?
Nope, that was good. Thank you. I'm not even going to let you take a drink of your coffee there.
Awesome. Movie quiz. Who won last week's movie quiz?
All right. We have a new champion. Andre Proudfoot got all 3 correct.
That's a Hobbit, ass, right? There's like Mary Buckbeak, Andre Proudfoot. They're part of the... I thought that might be like a North American indigenous name. Oh, that could be that as well. Very cool surname. Either way. Sorry, I jumped in there. Yeah.
No, totally. No, but our answers: Kick Ass, which I did not get.
No. Okay.
There Will Be Blood, which I did get.
Nice.
And then Blade, which I did not get.
That was the one I thought you would get, because I thought Chris has definitely seen this a number of times.
Mr. Tumnus. Yeah, no, it's been, I don't know, 15 years since I saw it last, maybe.
Maybe if I'd said some mother truckers are always trying to ice skate uphill, you might have gotten it. No? Man, you need to watch that again.
You could give me large chunks of dialogue from that movie and I will not get it. It literally has been that long, and I just don't, I have fleeting memories of what it is. That's it.
Okay.
That being said, though, I am looking forward, because it's Mahershala Ali reprising the role. That is
so looking forward to. Hopefully, it comes in the next phase of Marvel films, though, because this phase, I don't really want them to ruin my Blade. That's too close. I'm going to gatekeep Blade.
Are you going to? Okay. Fair enough. We'll discuss that in a little bit then.
Yes, we will. So, congratulations to both.
Yes.
To the newcomer and to our regular, always kind of mostly getting them right. That is normally the king that you need to dethrone. Has been dethroned this week, but also congratulations for getting them. It's just a couple of hours in between, as far as I could see on the comments.
Yep.
This week's is a doozy.
Okay. Oh, no.
So there are 3 fairly, I'm just going to say, one's from 94, one's from 87, one's from 94 and 2005. So I've spaced them out to kind of give everybody a chance to, at least get one. We'll go for the oldest one first. So as always, I'll give you a little, it does the couple of words, and if you're not sure, then I'll read the full sentence. So the 2 words for this particular one is sexual Tyrannosaurus.
That is a new band name, and I call it. I don't know what it's from.
I thought you'd love that one. All right, I'll read the full
short
quote. Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody
on the audio saw that.
No.
Nobody the podcast. I was doing little Tyrannosaurus arms there.
Can you imagine a little Tyrannosaurus trying to play a guitar, or like the bass, and trying to...
Yeah. It'd be more like an ukulele. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the quote. This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual Tyrannosaurus, just like me.
You said that was 84?
87.
87. Okay. No.
Okay.
Fair enough, though.
Next one.
Yes.
Testicle Tuesday.
Now, see, that one I should know. That sounds familiar.
Why should you know Testicle Tuesday?
I don't know, because it's like Taco Tuesday, you know.
All right, so the full quote is not going to really help you either because it's one extra word. Holy Testicle Tuesday.
And what year is this from?
94.
94. Okay. No. Okay. No, doesn't
Okay.
immediately come to mind. Nice.
For our third one, the Virgin. I've really stumped you this week, haven't I?
Yeah, you and your 2-word things. What in the world?
All right, full quote.
Okay.
You've been kicking around with her, and you're a virgin. Let's try that again. You've been kicking around with her, and you're a virgin.
No. Nice. I like being stumped. That's really good. Thank you for that.
Definitely all films you've seen.
Cool. Well, that's even better. That makes me feel awesome.
Okay.
No, that's good. That's great. No. Okay, so let us know. Put your guesses down in the comments below. We'll give you the shout out next week. No cheating. Don't look it up before you guess.
The fun, yeah. No Cheetos.
Yeah. No Cheetos. Dude, hot Cheetos are the best. But moving on, may I ask a question?
You're moving on, and man, ask. It's just all the animal sounds. It's a weird,
You
Chris.
bad boy.
But no more freebies.
Yes,
Okay. What's your question? We're really going to have a fun podcast this week.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If you're still tuning in, or if you're still here, we thank you for this. Okay. Serious question. I mean, this is.
Oh, serious. Okay, let's get our serious face on, everybody. Are you listening?
Okay.
Serious face, no emotion, just stoic.
Yeah, this is going to cause some contemplation, I think.
Okay, I'm in the zone.
You ready? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
The Goonies or Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. No contemplation needed.
Really? How come?
Yeah, because I watched The Goonies recently, and I thought to myself, when I was young, I couldn't understand why I enjoyed this film, but now it's actually really weak. It has things that just don't hold up, and the story is really, really not quite how I remembered it. However, I've also seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off recently, and that just kicks ass. It does all the nostalgia right, has a thing about your character learning something at the end, but it's still just so much fun. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
what would you say? Was this more contemplative for you?
This is harder for me, yeah, because both are iconic to my childhood.
Yeah,
they're seeing both around the same time, both being very quotable, fun for different reasons.
Yeah,
and both kind of a weird coming of age film. I mean,
yeah, I guess Goonies is actually definitely like that as well, especially when you start getting into the sort of relationship stuff when they're in the caves or in the tunnels. There's that between the girls, the kiss that's not from the person that she expected, and then that works. I see that.
Yeah. So life does move pretty fast. I think I'm going to go with Goonies though. I think I'll do Goonies. Yeah, I don't feel solid in that choice, though. I think what it comes down to is maybe the adventure. I think because there's still that, even today, when I see a movie that involves like that hidden treasure, that that quest to find something, and you have to go through the steps, no matter how cheesy or stupid they may be. That's what I always think back to, and I just have a lot of fun with that. So, okay, I'll go with that.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Awesome.
What would you, though, choose? Goonies?
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Cool. Okay, you wanna dive into the best things we watched this week?
Yeah, why don't you start us off this week? Because I realized in the last few weeks you've gotten me to start, and I don't know if that's a tactic or just being kind, or you're trying to get me to use all my words. But I think this week you should start.
Okay. Well, it's more so just because you've had more to go. So just
Oh, right. And I probably have more this week as well.
Yeah. But no, that's okay. Yes, I can totally begin. Okay. So this has dropped. This is not new this week, but it was new to me. And we started watching this, and we have now caught up. But Steve Carell, Donald Gleason on Hulu have this, it's a drama, and it's called The Patient. And what it is Steve Carell is a therapist. Donald Gleason is a patient that comes to him. And we learn from not only the trailer, but very early in the first episode that Donald Gleason is a serial killer. And he has now kidnapped Steve Carell's character for these basically one-on-one intense therapy sessions that hopefully will keep Donald Gleason from committing crimes. The performances are outstanding. It is Steve Carell is, because we not only see him in the present of what's going on in the show there in the story, but we also get all of these glimpses of flashbacks from his life. So his relationship with his kids, which is not always as strong as it should be. He's got his wife, some dynamics there. And so you see him just replaying these. And so not only is he providing therapy sessions for Donald Gleason and trying to really work through that, but he's also doing now his own kind of therapy with himself, and he's working through issues. Steve Carell's the therapist. He's the therapist, yes. Okay. Yeah. And we can tell that he is that he's serious because he has a beard. Right. Like the Robin Williams. Yeah, everybody, when you're serious now, you got a beard. Okay. You got a beard, yeah. Here's the thing. These episodes, it starts off at, I think episode 1 is like 22 minutes. Oh, wow. Now, these are weekly releases. Now, I do think they released the first 2, maybe 3 episodes together, and then it's weekly after that. And then, so it's like 22 minutes, 23 minutes, 25 minutes, 27 minutes. And I think the episode 5 was like 30 minutes. Wow. Really stepping out there. Yeah. Right. And that's including the credits. So we know that it's actually much less than that. So, so that does this have the same issue as She-Hulk does then? I don't understand the mentality behind programming of releasing such short episodes on a weekly format. For me, it works really well because I've binged 5 episodes together. Right. So you could get behind the story. You're not waiting a week for your 20-minute segments. Yes. Yeah. That's a waste of my time. Yeah. To sit down and to watch just 20 minutes. That's stupid. I think a lot of people probably as your mindset of, I'm going to wait a few weeks until there's like a few, then I can just, because I have 2 hours and I'll probably watch the whole series in 2 hours because they're 20 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. And, and I think back to like must-see TV on NBC when we had Friends and Seinfeld and all these things. Well, and those were 23 minutes. It was a 30-minute block, but it had 7 minutes of commercials spread out. So it was about 23 minutes of show content. But we weren't just watching one show. We were watching 2 to 3 shows back to back to back. So we were watching an hour and a half of content every week, that way. It's not that case. Hulu doesn't have a whole bunch of other shows that they've got that they're pushing. Anyway, that aside. The production of this is very contained. The Patient, it's when the flashbacks and stuff, we get to see external areas and of people interacting in their life outside of this. The crux of the drama and the dialogue come in a daylight basement where Steve Carell is being held. And it's not claustrophobic, but it's very contained. Limiting. Yeah. So whenever there's a contained situation and you put a volatile situation within a contained space, always makes for you wonder when something's gonna happen, because you put 2 crazies in the room together, or one crazy and other people, and see what happens. Yeah. And so the story builds. I gotta say, it keeps adding things into there where you're like, whoa, wait. You have all these reactions to it. How dark is it? It gets the last episode that I watched was really dark. I mean, it's kind of harrowing where you're like, ooh,
is visual as well in its darkness.
Yeah, it is, which works for character reactions and for dynamics.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the whole setup as we go through these episodes is almost forcing our characters to do certain things that they don't necessarily want to do. You know, or that they would, if given the choice, they wouldn't do. But because of consequences, they do.
Yeah.
That's vague, I know. But
yeah, no. And you're trying to circumnavigate spoiling anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how this is going to end out. You know, I don't know. Is it going to stick the landing? Is it going to be stupid? Donald Gleason, it's funny. He looks like he's some emo teenager, but as an adult. So he's got it's weird, and the way that they have makeup on him, I think, is a little weird. Like, it looks cakey on him at times, which looks unnatural or makes his skin look thicker and more rubbery than I think it is. That's just a costuming choice, whatever. It doesn't affect the production or anything like that, you know, or the character.
Yeah.
They're dynamic though, outstanding together. I mean, he is convincing as somebody who is unhinged and terrifying, quietly terrifying. Steve Carell as sad, patient. I don't even know another word that I'm trying to use, but just he works really well, and they're dynamic because they're opposites. You know, one is up, and so one has to kind of remain level.
Right.
That
he's trying to temper to keep it from escalating.
Yeah. So I would not necessarily one I think maybe that you want to rush right out and watch, because we're only I think halfway through the series or the season. But
it's in the best thing you watched, so
it is. Yeah, no, totally. It is. I mean, from the performances to the story building, it's wonderful. And we have, a half a story so far. So my only caveat would be it will be frustrating to watch half of it at the moment and then, have to wait another 5 weeks or something until it plays out. Unless you like weekly releases, then, that won't bother you. And then you can go for it and you can get hooked, because the first 5 as a binge is outstanding.
Yeah. And pretty easy to get through as well.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. So, all right. What's on your list?
I'm kind of embarrassed to talk about this one, to be honest. As the best thing that I watched this week. But I have to set the stage so people understand that Ruben hasn't completely lost the plot.
Okay.
So Kirsten read a series of teen angsty novels that has vampires as a theme. But what she liked about it is they did something different with the whole vampire storyline. So she managed to get through all the romance stories and the teen angst and all of that. And then as she read some of them to me, and every book she would come to me and go, this and this happened. I'm like, gosh, she can't help but talk about it because there's moments in it. So I was always interested to maybe, because we like reading to each other, maybe kind of start that again, find a series that we enjoy. And that was always one of them. We never did get around to it. But in 2014, I think, a film came out. I haven't said what it is yet because I'm building the suspense.
You're building the world. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
A film came out from, I think it adapted either the first 2 books or first 2 and bits of the third one. And it was atrocious. Some of the worst acting I've ever seen. Terrible script, terrible dialogue. Just pants. And no surprise, it didn't get the sequel that they were expecting. It was just please don't. It's worse, far worse than Twilight. I'd much rather watch Twilight. At least Twilight has some moments that I can laugh, and there's characters I can root for in that. Team Jacob all the way.
Sure.
There is a new TV series. It has 10 episodes, 5 have aired. It's a Peacock original and airs on Sky here in this country, and it's called Vampire Academy. And I'm just like, we put it on because, like, okay, let's give it a go, because, you know, it can't be as bad as the movie. And then 10 minutes in, I was like, wow, this is okay. There's still some of that teen angst and some of the TV acting, and then we were like 3 episodes in, and we're like, put the next one on. And then I was like, okay, we're at episode 4.
Oh.
And then we're like, put the next one on. I was like, there isn't one. It's coming out next week. And so last night we ended up watching the 5th episode as part of our weekly episodes of things we want to watch, like with The Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, that you haven't watched that episode. And we came to the conclusion that we both think it's actually good, but we fully realized that it might not be, in the weight of the movie being so bad. But let me set the stage as to why it's interesting. Okay, so vampires in this world are weak. They just grow old. They are elite people, like if every vampire was a royal in some way, sort of thing. They're held up as a very class-orientated society. It is in our Earth, but nobody knows about them. It's secret. And then there is the protectors that they have, who are human but also not human. They're very fast and powerful, strong, not immortal, not vampires, and they are lower class, but each vampire gets a protector to protect them because they're so weak. Then you have the Dampir, or what do you call that? Oh man, I used to know all these names. Maybe I've blocked it from my mind. Let me check this, that it's right. My wife would know. She'd be like, it's this and this and this and this and this and this. Okay. Lisa, a royal vampire, and her best friend and protector Rose navigate romance, class politics, and ancient magic at their boarding school, St. Vladimir's Academy. As Rose trains to become a guardian, a mysterious bond develops between the two friends, and they must work together to decipher it. So it has magic, fantasy, horror, supernatural fiction. It is also a 15, and it's a solid 15. So they haven't gone like the PG-13 route or the 12, depending on where you are. So it has sex, violence, gore. There are a race of vampires that I can't remember what they're quite called now. Man, they have their name. Like, you've heard it before. They use it like an ancient vampire name, that are feral, and they're stronger than probably 5 vampires and 6 or 7. Strigoi. That word. That's the word. Yeah. Did you just look it up? Did you cheat?
No.
Well, you see, you knew. Yeah. So the Strigoi are the vampires that if you suck a human fully, they draw all of their blood out, you will become a Strigoi. So you can feed on humans as blood bags, but you never fully take all of them. Otherwise, you'll become a proper monster. Gotcha. And so you have a weird lore. It's very different. The martial arts in this is great, like actually good. If I compare it to like Fate, the Winx saga, some of that is okay, but this is much better. And then if I compare the teen angst, similar kind of relationships dynamics, the special effects are very good. It's like, for me, it's a better version of Winx, similar sort of feeling. And I was just surprised. We're like, wow, this is actually really fun. So easy watching, don't really need to put your brain on to watch it. Load of nonsense teen angst drama with vampires at the core of it. And I was just like, well, I must be getting old.
Well, how's like the dialogue and stuff? Is it passable, or is it engaging?
Yeah, no, it's totally possible. There are some moments that is really interesting. There are characters that don't have everything spoon-fed to you that you want to know. There are some characters that have weird powers. The vampires do have powers, but each individual vampire gets an individual power. So, and you've got to go through this ritual thing of whether it's fire, water, air, earth, like an airbender or something. And then sometimes there's an anomaly that has all of them or something like that. And the mix of that between the martial arts and the Stray Cat vampires are very good. I like it. I'm enjoying it.
Nice. Well, it's an interesting take to make the vampires weak.
Yeah.
And that they have to have a human protector, which that's kind of cool. Just even to reimagine it in that way and set the rules for that lore. That's
it took me a while for my brain because I kept on going, why aren't the vampires going super fast and stopping that person or doing that thing, or just why do they even need that person to protect them? They're vampires, in my mind. The law has been set as to what a vampire is. This is something different.
Well, that's fun and good for them for just doing something different within the genre. That's
I guess that comes down to the writing and the books, and they've adapted that well. So
nice, cool. Okay. All right. Next on my list, and you have seen this. This movie, I didn't know what to expect going in. It is French. It is called Athena, and it is frickin' beautiful.
Oh, it's such a good-looking film. Yeah.
Stumbling over words here, talking hard. Yeah, wait, let me start over. Okay. So Athena takes place in a 24-hour period where a young boy has been killed, and the people, the residents of the estate housing where he lived, all of the young people have risen up, and they're fed up with the police mistreatment. They're fed up. I mean, there's a lot of politics that go in there. Some of it I think is universal, that a lot of different cultures can capture. Some of it may not be. Some of it may be specific to like France or to that area. But I think the general concept passes along. You have.
I totally got this. Like I was on board in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. See, and like from us, I mean, in the United States, I mean, there's a lot of the police mistreatment, the being sketchy, protecting their own type of thing, and so not being able to trust them. There's all of that within there. So it did make it was very relatable in that sense. So we have the young boy who is killed, but he has then 3 brothers, and one brother is the leader of this uprising that happens. One is a soldier, and then one is a drug lord or a drug dealer.
Makes
I guess.
for a really interesting trio.
Dude, that is just, And so you have this explosion basically of emotion. The people rioting, which also takes into account then all of your other residents that live in the estate. They're they're collateral damage from everybody, so they're, trying to get out and stuff. But this film is filled with long, amazingly shot continuous takes. I mean, the first scene, the opening scene, is 11 minutes of unbroken. Now, if they did edit it at some point, there's one part at the very beginning where the camera is panning, it passes in front of like a column of a building. That's the only place I saw that they could have really cut that. I don't know. It is, but you have going from a press conference of speaking to a riot breaking out to then just mayhem in a building, which then ends up into a chase in automobiles. And the camera is moving from following outside of the vehicles to then moving inside the vehicles to capture with the people to then back out to walk. It's just, though. The thing that always worried me when I started watching this, and I told my wife, we even paused it because I was like, okay, here's the thing. This is beautiful to watch. I'm really worried though that it's a distraction over a weak story. That there's not actually going to be any real content to this that makes any difference. It's just going to be all of this beautiful shots, which is fine from a visual standpoint. But if you're going to have me sit for an hour and 40 minutes or something like that, there needs to be a story within there. And I think they execute that well. Like we're taking on this emotional journey, and we really watch a lot of dynamics play out within the 3 brothers. Yeah. And it is haunting at points.
There are a couple of moments in the film that really took me by surprise. They're like plot point specific moments that I was just like, my jaw was on the floor, and I was like, huh. Okay.
Is one of those towards the end?
Yes.
Oh.
That's not where I thought the movie was going to go. There's one that's like halfway through that then shifts the tone, and you're like, wow, okay. And that was like, oh, okay, so it's one of these movies you really don't see what's coming. And then, yeah, towards the end, there was another moment. I was like, oh, boy, okay.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, you've covered most of the points of what I liked about it. Visually, it's amazing. I know firsthand how long it takes to set up long Steadicam shots like that. It's not a couple of hours, it's days for each shot, like days of prep, weeks of prep to get everybody to move. So when they action, there'll be like 3 or 4 different actions. They'll like be moving sound, they'll be moving props, and then they'll be moving an action, like an event that is happening, and then they'll roll camera, and then everybody has to move. It's a movable machine. And getting that right, moving corridors, people not looking at the camera, all it takes is one tiny little thing going wrong, and it's like it's a reset, and everybody sighs, and like, who sneezed, whose phone wasn't on silent, what helicopter just flew over. They're so tricky to do. So I was applauding, by the time we hit the end of the film, I was just like, they did what, 5 or 6 throughout the whole movie? It was insane.
Yeah.
And then to have it so intense the whole way through. Okay, so the thing I really liked about it, it could have just been intense action chaos movie, because that's what it was. And that still would have been really entertaining. But every now and again, the director just stopped the chaos, and you get a phone call with the mother. And he'd be like, yes, Mom, I'll be home. So you're just humanizing the character. And then there would be another stop, and they're sitting on the couch, and they're kind of, you see the character come to terms what he's just gone through, and just gives you moments to realize, they're human. What they're doing is crazy, and it's intense, and they're just trying to survive. But when you humanize a character, it's a really good way to make you care about the characters. So when you get to the end, stuff is happening to you, you're like, no. It's that sort of reaction. Very well executed. Yeah, loved it. Good film.
Did the score stand out to you with that?
Yeah, it's something that I kicked myself. I didn't even mention it in my review because there was so much to talk about, and it's one of those reviews that I basically didn't even need to write out. I should have done, because I was just spewing words on screen, going, blah, 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 the cinematography, acting, so good, watch it. But the score was incredible. It was really another character of the film. I would call it another protagonist of the film. Classic music, pieces that harken back to a musical like Les Mis, with the flag. Even the recreations of some of those shots, definitely from, I guess, the fact that it's French is very good, because like there's the turning, so you, in a juxtaposition, if you took that one shot that everybody knows very well with them waving the flag, standing on top of like the debris, and you have the kids on top of the building all standing on top of that, doing the same similar thing with the score swelling. Very clever to use it like that.
Yeah, there's several times where you, like, I'm thinking the police, they're walking up this, these fire trucks have been set up with their ladders going up so that the police can get to an elevated position. And so you have them, the camera's moving in, pushing in to then go up and above to see where they're going. But you have this choir singing, and it just, it's beautiful. My gosh.
Haunting. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is, I had somebody who was French comment on my review, and I had to actually have it translated, so I don't know how accurate the Google Translate really was. But the gist of it was basically like, this is a lot of anti-police propaganda, and right. I could see that. I mean, I could see that. Now, I don't know this person's political bent on there, and because I'm not part of this culture, I didn't see it as necessarily, it didn't have a political statement impact from a French standpoint, if that makes sense. I mean, I think it's relevant for today, and I think it, just the concepts that they discuss and the ideas that are brought forth in the story, especially when you have people who have been mistreated and they have reached a breaking point.
I mean, I don't understand how that you can even. Well, I guess everybody has every different type of viewpoint, but there definitely is a reflection in society today where people have reached the breaking point. And we see it reflected over all Earth at the moment, where governments are being pushed to the brink, people are at war, and it basically sometimes escalates the war. So it goes past riots to them toppling governments, to then armies being brought in to kind of bring back the peace. There's an escalation that keeps going. Yeah. And hopefully a lot of those don't happen. But it does get to a point where people are like, okay, the police are so corrupt now. I'm not saying it's all police, but there sometimes is a large majority, depending on which part of the world you're in, where it's so corrupt that the people that are meant to be protecting you, when they don't, it stands to you as a group, a community in society to say, law is broken, it's not working, so what are we going to do about it? We're probably going to now put ourselves in danger because those holding the law have the power and they don't want their power taken away from them. And this film does have that political stance, but I totally get it because I see it as a reflection in real world time today. It's not a thing that's not happening, it just is. You can say, oh, this is so political, and you don't know what the police are going through. You're right, absolutely, I don't know what they're going through, but at the same time, I have police friends who have said, yeah, it's so corrupt and it's so broken, so it's not like it isn't true. And that's coming from a first world place, which is probably the least broken, if that makes sense. You go to the police force in some of the African places like Zimbabwe, and what's going on there, especially as there's a continuous media blackout and the only stuff in the media that you're allowed to see is very well controlled. I disagree with that comment 100%.
Yeah, well, and I do think it is I mean, the story content is relatable in some sense, and I mean it is a reflection of our time, and I mean that's what a lot of art does, is capture snapshots or speak into it, provide commentary in a whatever form that media happens to be. So
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, every art form that you get, regardless of what type of art it is biased in some way.
Sure.
Right? So you have to basically take a step back, wear your wider goggles and say, in the context of everything that this is talking about, what does it actually mean? If you're going to allow that art form to affect you and maybe shape your life, I would suggest maybe don't do that. Just enjoy it for what it is, and then you decide on what you think is right or wrong, and then you have to live with those consequences, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that got deep, Chris.
Should we lighten it up? I don't know. I don't know what's coming next for you.
No, we're not going to lighten up. We're going to continue.
Not going to lighten it up.
We're going to continue down the where the police don't look after people, and I'm going to talk about Jeffrey Dahmer's Netflix's series. That so I was going to talk about Gatekeeping Part 3. So here is a prime example. I have 3 things that I got gatekeeped on this week. One is this series. Which is the weirdest thing to be gatekept on. We'll get to it. Another one is Pokemon. So I reviewed a Pokemon movie. It's 80 minutes long. Apparently, it's a collection of episodes. So it's actually 4 episodes from the TV series that they've put into a movie. I didn't know that because Netflix produced it as a movie and didn't say otherwise. Sure. So for people that don't watch the series religiously, they wouldn't know if you only dip in and out of Pokemon. That's what I did. Sure. So I labeled it as a movie. I got gatekeeped to oblivion with some of the comments because I am clickbaiting, because this is not actually a movie.
But that's how it's marketed.
I also just copy and pasted Webster's definition and the Screens Guild definition of what a movie is, what it consists of, and pretty sure it's a movie. Anywho, the third one was the South African series that I recently reviewed called The Brave Ones.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like it. But because I didn't like it, I don't know what I'm talking about. So a bunch of South Africans have commented, this guy, way too harsh, doesn't know what he's talking about. And there's a very interesting concept there, thinking, apart from if they had some constructive criticism going, I understand that you didn't like it, but for me, it was blah, 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 blah. Cool. Great comment. But when it starts, you have no idea what you're talking about. That this thing was great. You are absolutely wrong. And those were like the nice words I'm using. So
Sure.
My own South Africans, I was like, dude, this is... So gatekeeping is, it seems to be anything that means that you're a part of, you have ownership of. And you don't want anybody else to be a part of that.
And you don't like any differing opinions.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Huh. I don't understand, like, going to your the brave ones. It, like, the disagreement on opinion is totally fine. Like, because I know you give reasonings for your opinion. You know what I mean? You give examples, and so it's backed up. The counter arguments that are never backed up make no sense to me.
No.
I don't understand this. You don't know what you're talking about, or that's just stupid, or you're wrong. Well, why am I wrong? Why do you feel that I'm wrong? Use an example for this. That now we can have a discussion on it, and we can actually have dialogue about this. Maybe I will see a new appreciation or a different viewpoint from it that I hadn't considered before. Maybe not. Maybe you'll see something different, or maybe we will just agree to disagree, and that's okay too. But to make the standpoint that you're wrong or you're stupid because you don't like this, okay, your argument is already invalid. Congratulations, you're stupid in 3 languages.
So the Jeffrey Dahmer one was really interesting because people were saying that they seem to be glorifying the fact that Dahmer might have been slightly mental and that it wasn't all his fault, and that it was the blame was shifted to the parents, and Netflix had circumnavigated it to make it a racism thing, a political thing, and it shifted the blame off Dahmer. And so people were, because there's a lot of documentaries and TV series already about Dahmer, they were saying that, because of my experience with those others and what those other documentaries and TV series and movies have said, therefore this one doesn't work for me and I don't think what it says is right. It's a weird stance to have on a serial killer thing. I can kind of understand where they're coming from. Also, at the same time, this isn't a documentary. It's a TV series.
Yes, it is a dramatization.
Dramatization. It's probably one of the best dramas I've seen all year. I mean, it's incredibly well acted. And so just to give an example, because I reviewed the first 5 and then I went back because I couldn't help myself and I watched the next 5. So sorry to those people that felt like I clickbaited them, even though I'd said in the description and in the review and in the title that I'd done the first 5. Sorry, but I have now watched all of them. I want to talk about episode 6 briefly. And I was hoping you had...
I finished the series last night.
Okay. Fantastic.
Dude.
Can we just talk about episode 6?
Dude.
Because that episode destroyed me, Chris. Tell me your thoughts on that. Oh, it's great. I'm so glad that you've watched it. Okay.
Okay. I loved the conflict that this episode created in me. I guess minor spoilers here, maybe. I'm going to try and avoid specifics. I think that's what I don't. Up until this point, I mean, we have seen Dahmer portrayed as, he's odd. Absolutely. He's unhinged, and he's definitely disturbed, and he is wrong. I mean, 100% of the time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In this episode, though, we see a moment of conflict within him.
Yeah.
Which then creates a moment of conflict within us.
Yeah.
And because now we have seen this monster who does not hold back. Yeah. Who he shows a moment of hesitation. And that was like, that wrecked me. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh. And more so because you see the progression of what happens after that.
Yeah.
And knowing, and it's like, oh no, and the people that he's coming in contact with, the show did such a good job at. Everybody else, you can still feel sympathy for all of the victims within the show. I think you can feel sympathy for
sure.
because they're victims.
Absolutely.
This one, though, we got a ton of information on it, a ton of story and character building. And
so here's the thing that I wrestled with. In my mind, I was like, I feel like I'm rooting for a couple to be together. Like, it was so cute. It was building a relationship. They seemed to hit it off. But this guy is the devil and he might eat you. But at the same time, there is this character, one of the guys that was killed, who is deaf. And the use of non-sound, so powerful.
The whole episode lacking in dialogue was amazing.
Some of the best episodes of TV I've ever watched, particularly that episode.
Dude, and did you ever see Downfall, that dramatization about Hitler and his last hours in the bunker?
Yeah, many years ago. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's been quite a while since I've seen it, but what has always stuck with me in that movie is that I hate that at some point it makes me feel sympathy for Hitler. That the story is so well crafted and so well executed that despite me knowing that this person is atrocious, that he is just the devil incarnate, put into flesh on earth and just doing evil things and obliterating people, but I feel for him. I'm like, I have this twinge of sympathy. And that conflict that creates within me is what's very powerful. Yeah. Not that all of a sudden I'm like, oh, no, Hitler's a great guy. No, that has never come into this.
Ship has sailed on the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is not a thought that comes in. It's like, oh, wow, though. I mean, it took a moment and it humanized him. And
that's what you've nailed on the head. And I actually think that's where the comments, they don't actually know what they're feeling when they're watching this. I think it takes a while for you to actually step back and go, we like to think of serial killers as monsters. Yes. We don't like to think of them as humans. So when you humanize the monster and you have to think, but actually, how did he get to that part? Yes, he made those decisions himself, but there's a whole sequence of events that got him to that place. Part of that was probably some of what the parents did to him, the mother specifically, for sure. But there were moments, even if he was, or something wrong with his brain, even if they had managed to dissect his brain and found an anomaly, he still made those decisions, not taking away the horror that he inflicted. But it's almost worse. Like, it's not a monster. It's a human. It's one of us.
Well, and that, I think you're right, because then that means if he is human, that means that could exist in all of us.
There's a sequence of events that could lead to me in 10 years' time where I become the next Dahmer. And if you have that in your brain and you're like, most people would go, I would never say never, people, because many serial killers are there. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, and it probably won't. 99.99% of the time, that's a thing. But even seeing the father reflect with his own thoughts and struggles and demons that he's had to go through, he never acted on them, but he did have them. He had those dark thoughts, that, like to quote Dexter, his dark passenger didn't manifest, but Dahmer's did.
And I think, like you had mentioned, some of the comments, like shifting blame away from him, or maybe absolving him of this or anything else. See, I didn't think that the series did that. I mean, I see the characters, like, so you see a father's grief and him in himself trying to come to grasp with the horrors that his son has done. You know what I mean? And as a parent, not wanting to believe the truth in front of you, that your child has actually done these things. And so you are willing to say, I did this. There was something in me that I caused this. If I had done this, or if I had done this, I mean, it's that if only type of game that they play. And it doesn't absolve Dahmer of what he did. First off,
No.
I mean, he's just because the father reacts this way doesn't mean, and I didn't take the show to be saying, oh, well, you know what? It's not Dahmer's fault. He didn't do this. He was just a product of everything. No, I mean,
No, a good parent will always love their children.
Yeah.
But a good parent will also, there'll be consequences for what their children have done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, the whole, you're politicizing it, making it about race. I'm sorry. If you just look at his victims, they were more black and brown than they were white. Yeah. Now, why he chose that, I don't know. He did, though. That's the point. And we know historically that black and brown people were overlooked more, especially when they were gay.
The logic brain jumps in and goes, the reason why he chose those people is because he could get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that they're, I mean, he's already choosing an ignored subset of gay people.
Yeah.
And then within there, he's choosing an even more ignored subset of black and brown people within the gay subset.
He did what you're meant to do on YouTube, double niche. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the story arcs of like Niecy Nash's character, his neighbor. I mean, that's powerful. And watching her, just her frustration and her
nobody listening. Time and time again.
How do you? I mean, I can't imagine the mental torture and anguish that she puts herself through, which is not deserved.
No.
Because, I mean, she did everything right. She told the cops. She called all the time. She, you know what I mean? She complained. She brought this to people's attention. They didn't act. She acted, but nothing came about from it. You know what I mean? But I can still see her living with that torment of, I didn't do enough, or this happened. I knew it was happening. I knew something wasn't right, and I couldn't stop it. Well, lady, it wasn't in your power to stop. I mean, had you gone over there, but realistically, you would have disappeared also.
For sure.
You would have been in the vat. Yeah. And so
there's a moment you see her character, I think it's the last episode, where they're kind of doing the wrap up of all the characters, kind of what has happened to them since, where she's drinking something and it triggers a memory of the smell, and she can never not forget that smell, and I was like, that'll haunt you forever. There's nothing you can do. Just broken. Yeah.
Well, and how powerful was it? Where, like, I didn't understand what was going on at first when it was mentioned. When she comes back, when the residents are allowed to come back to the apartment, and the daughter says, you can go down there if you're scared. Promise me you'll at least do that. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, go where? What are you talking about? But then to see her, after waking up, having that nightmare of the PTSD, to walk down into the first floor hallway where several of the other residents from that floor, well, even all of the floors really are congregated because they need
they need to be around something good.
Yeah. I can't, holy crap.
It's
like,
so
that
clever.
is so, it's powerful.
Very powerful.
And yet I don't even know how do you even, like, that never even would have thought come into my mind as a reality or even as a possibility.
Yep.
These people are so disturbed by what happened around them, and to then have,
I was upset about the end, and it's not really a spoiler because it's documented as to what happened. But the justification of that one guy not being able to stop himself, and he felt like he was called by God to deal with Dahmer. And I was like, if you believe, as a Christian does, that Dahmer had actually turned he wanted to be saved, and he gets baptized, and he prays the sinner's prayer, and now he's saved. Him doing that, it makes him go to heaven and he's forgiven. Like, that's just what the belief is. Had he not done that, he could, like, the consequence, he had something like 999 years to be in jail, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna kill him, arrange like a hitman to do it like at the end of his life in a gruesome way, or whatever you're gonna do. Like allow him
that out
to,
early.
Yeah, he needed to be punished, and your punishment was being in jail, living with the consequences of the torments of your mind day in and day out until you die an old man. You know, that was an easy way out for him. So I was like, can't believe you've done that. That just seems wrong.
Well, and it's made mention of very briefly about his psychological, not Dahmer,
the other guy. Yeah,
the other guy. His psychological, and why he was not allowed to see certain things. He was not allowed access to certain things.
Yeah.
And it always, and we see this portrayed in so many different movies, but the guards just walking out.
Yeah.
You know, of
it
certain
must
things.
be a thing because everybody portrays it that way, like it's fact.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't, I mean, one time it's a gimmick, it's a story convenience, it's like whatever. But when it happens all the time, it's like, well, there's probably some truth in this.
Truth in that, yeah.
And that then takes us back even to the Athena conversation, where there is a level of corruption, there is a level of self-importance, or you know what I mean, that you're above the law that comes into play here. And it's terrible to see, because I think the other dude, at least in the show, the other dude that was with Dahmer at the end, he's also not what did that dude do? I mean, he did something to be in prison. I mean, he's not a nice guy. He's not innocent. I'm not saying that, but
yeah, not good. You've stooped to his level. Yeah, you've become the monster yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
so this is
dark.
Dahmer is a dark series, and I got to say though, it's 10 episodes. They're 45-ish minutes long.
Yeah.
It felt much longer than that, though. The pace of each episode is like molasses.
Yeah, I mean, I thought every episode was really, really interesting to watch, but it is trudging through it tensely, and you're like doing this thing. Oh, some of the episodes you're just like, no.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah. I was surprised though at how, like, we paused it at one point, I think during episode 3, and I was only like 15 minutes in, and I thought I was almost done with that episode.
Gosh. Yeah.
It's for everybody that if you haven't seen the show yet, I mean, it is riveting, but it is slow.
Yeah.
And, not boring, just slow. I mean,
they take their time because they go from the fairly fast episode 1, I thought, giving us this is the consequences of his whole life, and then they go back, and then they show us how he got there, and then the last couple of the end really of him in jail, and very good but very slow.
Yeah.
Cool. What's next on your list? Do you have anything lighter?
No, lighter than Dharma, absolutely, or Dahmer, yes, absolutely. So I went on Thursday, and I took my son, and we saw Don't Worry, Darling. So we've, there's all the hubbub around what went on outside leading up to the release of the movie. But
that doesn't matter. You can put that to the side. Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. It has no impact on what is actually contained within the film. And I got to tell you, I had fun with this movie. There is... you
mean the critics are wrong? The critics can't be wrong, Chris.
I don't understand where they're having some issues on certain things. You haven't seen this, right?
I haven't seen it yet. I do want to see it.
Okay,
I'm going to stay away. Pugh. Yeah.
She is great in this. I mean, she really is, and I'm going to stay away from spoilers.
Okay.
But the Chris Pine, is terrifying at moments, like just with his intensity. Harry Styles.
Can I just say?
Go for it.
Currently 38% with 217 reviews from the critics. And 83 with 500 from the audience.
Yes.
I just thought it's really interesting. Yeah.
Mine is one of the fresh ones, just so everybody knows. And it's on the best thing I watched this week, so there we go.
It gives you Chris Pine is terrifying.
Chris Pine is terrifying. Florence Pugh is amazing. Harry Styles is fine.
Okay. Because I've heard he was terrible. Yeah.
I don't think he was. Is he awesome? No. But also, he doesn't have a lot of acting under his belt.
Yes, true.
You know, I mean, if you look at like his IMDb, that's exactly it. He has a lot of time in front of the camera, but that's him singing and dancing, not acting. And there are moments in this where he does a good job. I mean, he's fine. I don't say, oh my gosh, he is the reason to watch.
Yeah.
But also, I would not trash his performance. You know that.
Very interesting.
The only thing I can even wrap my head around of why maybe critics are not liking it is because they don't like the twist.
Oh. What did you think of the twist then?
I loved it.
Okay.
I thought it was great because I didn't see it coming. It fits in line with the themes of power and control.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't agree with motivations, that has nothing to do with how I appreciate the twist. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to agree with character decisions, but I can enjoy how it comes about. And so my son turned to me and he was like, at the end, he was like, ooh, it's kind of like this. And I'm like, yes, it is. And I think that's why people don't like it. Because the whole setup is weird. It's uncomfortable all the way through. That there are, because we don't know really what's going on, right? I mean, we see this idyllic, this picture perfect world that everybody lives in. It's terrifying, or at least unsettling and uncomfortable, because of how perfect things are and how the routines are set up that our characters go through. And so that you kind of get this icky feeling, but you also get this, why? What's going on here?
Icky.
Yeah. There's this whole thing of like, ugh, you know, there's like, you can see how
I got that from the trailer. Yeah.
You can see how some people would see this and go, well, what's wrong with this? This is perfect. This is, I mean, you have, everybody seems happy, you know, there are clear resolutions to the story. I've seen a lot of people be like, it doesn't answer this. I walked away knowing everything because I felt that the story
video.
I don't think it needs one. That's
right,
the thing.
okay.
It doesn't spoon feed us the information, but it's also not so obscure that you don't get what's going on. I mean, it lays it out, and so I don't know. I don't know what I'm not sure where questions come in of like what was unanswered.
If you're listening to this or you're watching this and you've seen it, let us know what you thought, because there's obviously a huge disparity between the critics and the audience. So.
There really is. Can I say one thing though? And I saw this in a tweet, and it actually happened in my theater.
Yeah.
This may not be an awesome theater going experience, because in my showing, in the row in front, there were a couple of young teenage girls and their mom. Now, luckily, it happened before the film actually started. Yes, they're taking selfies in the theater, which I know is a thing, but there were like several selfies before. Now, this happened before the film began. Once it stopped, once the film began, no more selfies. Fine. The mom was on her phone all the time. I almost boot kicked her though, because I would
have not stood for that. That is, you don't pay to watch somebody else's phone.
Phone. Yeah, no. Because it kept lighting up. I'm going to bring a laser from now on. I'm going to shine it on their phones to maybe blind them. But my son, who works at a theater, he said last night, so that was Friday when it was, the true opening. He said, "Oh my gosh, it was just waves of teenage girls like decked out in Harry Styles stuff." And so,
What the hell?
Okay. And then I saw tweets where they're talking about how all of these these huge Harry Styles fans are coming in, but they're talking during the film. They're doing selfies. They're all kinds of stuff. Okay. No, it's not. So all that to say that your theater going experience, at least if you go early, like in the release, it may not be awesome. You may not
choose
enjoy
a time
it
that the teens won't go to. That would be smart.
Exactly. Yeah. So choose a weekday in the daytime where they're at school. That maybe that would be better. I don't know. That's an unfortunate side effect, I think, of just his celebrity. So, which has nothing to do really with the movie itself, but.
Okay.
PSA from Chris.
My brain is just glazing over with the picture of teens on their phones doing selfie during the movie, and the anger welling up inside me, wondering what I would do and whether I would be going to jail at the end of that showing. Yeah.
Well, because we've paid to see, especially once the movies come out. It's sometimes we get screeners or we get advanced screening opportunities, and so you're there with
like-minded people that want to be there. Yeah.
Sometimes, like a lot of mine are mixed. Sometimes it's all press, and sometimes it's press and public with a press section. Yeah. And so you have a mix. But when I go and I pay to see it in the theater, you're wasting my money now. Stop. Anyway, okay. Rant over from Chris.
Okay. All right.
Take us down something happy.
This is not happy, but I'm excited to talk about this one. Because of time, I'm just going to do the absolute best thing that I watched this week. Okay, so I'm going to set the tone again, the mood, see if Chris can... Maybe you've heard of this, maybe you've watched it, I don't know. It's currently showing at Fantastic Fest. There's a lot of people coming out of Fantastic Fest at the moment talking about some movies that they've seen. It's a South Korean movie. That should get you excited. Because we love our South Korean content.
We do,
It is an action horror film. It is also Con Air on a boat.
What?
It's Con Air on a boat meets... if Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers had a twisted baby. That's this movie.
What? Okay.
It's called Project Wolf Hunting.
I have never even heard of this.
Okay, put this on your damned list now. You need to watch this movie. Oh my gosh, it's classic B horror movie in the vein of this is gory. The sort of thing where a dude will stab a person through the neck and the blade will go through the neck and pin them there and their body will just be hanging off the ground. Or there is someone's just being ripped open and there's so much blood. You're laughing because you're wondering, how much blood does a person's body hold again? It just rivers. But it also spends a good 50 minutes of just doing action Con Air. There are convicts that are being transported from the Philippines to Korea. Something goes wrong at the beginning, so they decide, okay, these guys are obviously, they want to escape. They're all like the hardest, scariest criminals you've ever seen. One dude is completely tattooed from head to foot with the weirdest, most complicated, scary sort of tattoos. You know that guy. And then every character they showcased has a characteristic of their own, like caricatures of bad guys that you're like, never want to be anywhere near one of those dudes, right? That is kind of what you get. And then you get the detectives that are... this police force that are set about having to babysit. So you put those two on a boat that are going across waters, and that's an action movie waiting to happen in itself. Then you put a conspiracy government thing with something happening in the bowels of the boat, and something, then you have a bit of a horror. Then you add in a government test, and it just mixes up to just one of the best damn films I've seen in a long time. And it's so much fun. It's martial arts, gory horror, comedy characters, and you're still rooting for them to survive, but you never know who's going to survive, because it doesn't let you kind of go, oh, I like this person now. No, that person doesn't have a torso, or that person doesn't have feet anymore. Cool.
Oh, man.
You gotta watch this. It's so good.
How long is it overall?
Not long enough. I want more. It's 122 minutes. It's directed by Kim Hong-sun.
Okay.
Writer-director Kim Hong-sun's gnarly action thriller that pits cops versus cons aboard a cargo ship with a sinister secret in its hold. That's the log line.
Nice. So you said it debuted at Fantastic Fest that's going on right now, or just
right
finished
now.
up. And is it going to be hitting theaters or on demand? Do you know?
I presume it's going to be hitting theater. I'm looking for more information on the stuff that I've gotten. I will forward you their details so you can ask them, because I want you to watch this. I want you to come back and saying, why didn't I know about this before? And how can I get more of this stuff in my eyeballs?
Yeah, this sounds like just bonkers and fun, and oh my goodness. And I've never heard of it, which is even better. Oh, that's so outstanding. Nice.
The last log line for this is what you can expect. Frenzied firefights, gory martial arts, and decades-old conspiracies complete with shadowy syndicates and secret experiments all erupting upon the screen with a rousing volcanic velocity. all the trigger words. So funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's great. Oh, cool. Okay, well, you made me excited to see this.
Yeah.
Outstanding. All right. You have anything else on your list?
I mean, we watched some rom-coms this week, an old one and a new one. We watched 2 Weeks Notice with Hugh Grant and Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
And we didn't remember the film at all. It was so old and it's been so long. We're like, this is still funny, still reminiscent of Notting Hill. And then we watched a new one called Marry Me, which we didn't get round to watching the first time. And that's the one with J-Lo and Owen Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, this is actually good, because J-Lo gets a bad stick when it comes to rom-coms. And I thought she was excellent in this, like really knocked it out of the park. And Owen as well, playing Owen Wilson.
Yeah, totally, yes.
Right? Except he didn't say wow, which I was very disappointed with. Wow. Just reminding people that there's some decent rom-coms out there, new and old. Yeah.
Definitely. Cool. Okay. Well, hey, that's the end then of this portion of it. We invite you to head over to wherever you listen to podcasts. We will link it in the description below, but you can hear where we're going to discuss some entertainment news, things that we're looking forward to in the week, and probably some tangents as well. There is some good things. Some of the top, I know there's one thing coming this week that is the top of Ruben's list that he's been, I think it's the most anticipated movie of the year that's coming out this week. So if you want to find out what that is, head over into the podcast. You can also, though, tweet at us at any time at Best We Watched. And don't forget about our Patreon opportunity at patreon.com/thebeardedones, where this week we're also, Ruben is re-challenging me to some obscured movie posters where we have messed up the movie posters and we have to guess back and forth at who or which one it is. So, yes, okay. With that, we'll catch you next week. Thanks. Bye.
What's my most anticipated movie of the year?